Hi, I'm Jessica Jackson.
And my name is Ben Sherman, and today we're going to be talking to you about the topic of fatal police shootings in the United States. Broadly, our research question over the course of this project has been what are the characteristics and circumstances that lead to an increased prevalence of fatal police shootings across America?
When we are finished, we would like to know more about police violence in the United States. We will be looking at different factors and cross-examining them to hopefully see why they happen and what will happen in the future.
More specifically, this study has identified two specific avenues through which fatal police shootings can be understood. First, we recognize the influence of geographic region or specific state influence on the incidence rate of fatal police shootings. Further, the characteristics of individuals or victims in each case and how they present themselves and the manner through which that increases the incidence rate of fatal police shootings. We would like to note here that this study has only identified about 5,000 cases of fatal police shootings. This is certainly not a comprehensive analysis. We hope that our study will inspire further studies in the future that can have a more holistic and inclusive analysis. The missing cases may be attributable to misreporting, underreporting, and intentional non-reporting that lead to lower incidence rates of fatal police shootings than actually observed.
Looking at our first graph, we are seeing death by state and ethnicity. Different ethnicities being white, Native American, Hispanic, Black, and Asian. And then we do it by the state in alphabetical order. Just knowing prior knowledge of population of state, we see that California and Texas are both greater clusters within the white, Hispanic, and Black. We will also further examine this later.
Moving on, we also examined the specific circumstances of individuals within each of these events. This graph, as you see here, examines how the armament of the specific individual influenced their likelihood of being involved in a fatal police shooting. Our categories include unarmed, armed with a gun, which also includes other deadly projectile weapons, armed with other object, which includes sharp or blunt objects potentially used to harm other people, as well as NA. The NA category for this graph we found to be important to include and not lump in with unarmed category. This is due to the often unsure and quickly unfolding circumstances involved in these high-stress events. As such, we decided to leave this alone, and we note here that is an extremely low number of circumstances. Looking at the graph more broadly, we can see that individuals armed with ever more deadly weapons have a higher incidence rate of being killed by police officers. Individuals armed with guns, potentially the most deadly weapons, are clearly more likely to be killed by police officers than individuals armed with some sort of blunt object or unarmed entirely.
The next graph is death by ethnicity and gender. It is the count of deaths by ethnicity, and as you can see, white is the largest death number that there is, with Black being the next leading one. Looking at the gender, we can see that males have a higher percentage than females when it comes to the death by police shootings. We like to include NA to still be on the graph because we find it best to include with the high stress events of these shootings that it is hard to determine what race could have been.
Examining now these instances by age, we can see that the graph is very nearly normally distributed while also skewed right minorly. In this case, lighter colors and higher peaks signify increased numbers of fatal shootings by police. I'd like to point out here the very high peaks and outliers along this graph, represented by ages 25, 31, 36, and potentially as well 18, 45, and 59. These outliers spike noticeably higher than their surrounding categories. Well, this may be due to police assignment to these specific ages when age is unsure overall, or possibly it may be due to an increased prevalence in these specific ages. This would be an interesting occurrence as these are year numbers and we have organized them from lowest to highest, starting from about 10 years old going all the way up to almost 90. Clearly, the graph may be skewed due to either lower numbers of individuals as age increases, or potentially an increased prevalence of violent crime committal in younger ages.
Our next graph is mental illnesses contributions to threat and weapon. As you can see, the most densest clusters are armed with gun and attack because people who have been armed with a gun and are more likely to attack and be shot. Looking at the mental illness, you can see that the true factor is more whenever they are armed.
The culmination of this study has been a regression analysis of state population and incidence rate of fatal police shootings. We can see in this graph that as expected, potentially, and alluded to earlier on, as state population increases, so too does the incidence rate of fatal police shootings. Of particular note within this graphic are cases that have been named, including Arizona, California, and New York. These outliers may present circumstances where either, for the cases of California and Arizona, they have an increased likelihood of fatal police shootings while presenting state populations roughly on par with surrounding categories. For these two cases, it may be that police procedures have led to an increased prevalence of these tragic and fatal events. Examining then the other category, or the opposite category, in which we look at to states like New York, police procedures may have led to a decreased prevalence of fatal police shootings while also dealing with very high population sizes. We hope that this study will potentially identify new areas of study within these states so that the incidence rate of fatal police shootings may be decreased overall. The following graph again illustrates fatal police shootings by population size within each state. Now organized by the exact population size of states along the x-axis, we can see that there is potentially the possibility that the relationship between population size and fatal police shootings may actually be hyperbolic and non-linear. Though we did not conduct a non-linear regression analysis of this, we find that the linear regression analysis best approximates this avenue of study. Overall, we hope within this project we have identified characteristics that may lead to a decreased incidence rate of fatal police shootings within the United States. We hope you have enjoyed this presentation, and thank you for your time.
Please feel free to check out our sources and further examine our data to find your own conclusions. Thank you.
Thank you.